Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are looking at a game of Dominions 5. I am joined by Sy.
Hi, I'm Sy, and I'm the second head of this hydra.
That's right. And so is each nation in this game being played by two players, and the whole thing is being cast by two casters. So we have messages from Joman, who last turn defeated a force of Zeadans sieging his capital, who had stayed. They were I was going to say overstayed their welcome. That's the word I was looking for. Um,
Yeah, it was definitely a risky gamble to try staying on there without knowing what you were fighting.
so certainly a costly victory, true, but still he was able to secure his cap, um, and now he does have his dormant titan in play, and his plan was to go underwater with him the whole time. So Drummond's in a tight spot, but getting underwater is definitely a way that he can get back into this game if he can keep fending off the Zeadans. Now
I'm going to
he
say that I
says,
strongly disagree with what he said about the mages being a bad idea, because
yeah,
the
let's read
luck
what he's saying
casts,
here.
yeah, like with the luck casts and the armor of Achilles on some of those Iodans to reduce their prot against infantry, definitely should have swung things. Like he might have outright lost if his
Mm-hmm.
heart squad or his command squad had just gotten jumped on by the Zidans without any buffs there, and
Mm-hmm.
then the Zidans just chewed through the infantry quickly enough in order to kill the commanders in the middle.
Yeah,
Without the mages, it's absolutely possible he could have lost that battle outright. At which point, his game's over.
yeah. I think he feels there's a bit of like hindsight because he lost four of the six mages, I think. Um,
Right,
so
but
it's
that was a positioning issue. That
yeah,
wasn't that he
exactly.
shouldn't have brought the mages at all.
Exactly. There was definitely a way where they would have lived. But anyways, so Joman is going to try to go underwater now. Um, let's actually see what Raga has to say. That was interesting, was it not? So he's spinning it as a win. He lost only 2 turns of cap recruitment, and he lost a lot of mages and troops. Ready for round 2, but doubles the Aidens.
See, I don't think that that's actually a win for Raga because he didn't just lose the capital siege. He also lost the ability to control Joman.
Yeah.
Like he can so the Joman's choice to put everything into 110 here is going to limit how far he can push forward. But
Mm-hmm.
Joman could have taken 118 and 110 and then split out from there because he did have those Bakemonos already in 101. Um, and then at that point, you've got like a bunch of stealthy guys that can split up among 4 different provinces, and it's just very hard for Raga to go contain that. Additionally, losing 2 turns of cap recruitment as Raga, where your entire build is focused on your cap recruitment because you took Drain 3,
Yeah,
as especially as a very small Raga that has no additional forts, that's a big deal. That's slowing your momentum dramatically.
for sure. Um, I also have a message. This is turn 13, and I have a message in Discord here from perhaps the other player. Now, this could be next turn, but he labeled it as turn 13. And in Discord, this could have been the other player, but he says this is the Alfurious Legion. All the players have renamed themselves Alfurious. Okay, we're getting back. We're getting our feet back under us in this war. We'll be getting another Holy One Heat Calf commander and make him our king to lead our next 30 some griffins onto Joman.
By
The
making him their king, I assume they're talking about the
Prophet.
Shah crown.
Oh, yeah, could be.
Because it's an item that can be used only by the Shahs, and
Mm,
the crown gives them additional holy so they can cast Divine Blessing.
yeah. All right. And also, we should mention there has been, and we're actually much further ahead in real time than the turn we're casting right now, but there has been constant sort of trash talking going on between Raga and Joman. Honestly, between Raga and a lot of people, but this has been a very heated game channel as well ever since this fight started. Because, of
Yeah, I have a
course,
lot of respect for the Alfuriuses, the
yeah,
Alfurii,
they
uh,
trash
in
talk.
terms of their banter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
been fun.
Okay. Now, interestingly, here, This must have been where the Zaytans retreated to, because this is not one of the expansion parties. It doesn't have any priests.
Right.
Just a horde
That's. It
tribe
looks like he just either moved that horse tribe chief in,
to pick them
or
up.
no, he recruited them there. Actually, that's a horse
Oh
tribe
yeah,
problem.
maybe yeah. So yeah, because these were just the guys that had retreated from the capital battle. So actually, if maybe Joman had scouts, maybe he didn't. But good move on him taking this province because that like is a free kill on some more Zeadans.
What's interesting to me actually is that the unscripted Zaidans aren't flying, or
Oh, I
the
didn't look at the
Griffin
battle.
did.
Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, the Griffins did, but the Zaidans themselves didn't, which is very interesting to me.
Hmm.
I don't know why they have that behavior because they can fly. Um, it's
Yeah.
possible actually that there's some sort of behavior with them being in the same squad with the non-flyers, but I don't think that that should change
Hmm.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. Actually, I don't know really the answer to that. Um, looks like there's nothing now left for Raga to expand to. Um,
There's
maybe
138, so I think that the
yeah,
group in 149 is gonna go take that.
um,
And then of course the throne, but I
yeah.
don't think that's on his mind right now.
Now in the same neck of the woods, Joman is expanding underwater. So let's see what his plan has been all the time for underwater expansion. So he's got a Joman's Bizarre Adventure, the Celestial Bureaucrat. So he's Astral 5, Air 2, and Water 2. And this chassis comes with this item, the Dragon Pearl. It gives you an astral gem, water breathing, but it's cursed, so you can't remove it. Um,
Yeah, this is
and
the astral variant as opposed to the one that gets the water magic gem.
so he casts Mist Form, Quicken Self, Ice Shield.
Yeah, Ice Shield's a good one. You
Mm-hmm.
don't get to see that spell all that often because it's rare to see underwater thugging.
Exactly.
But certainly a effective spell.
I mean, Protective Force, yeah. I mean, it's amazing, right? So he doesn't have a lot. He's still only at 12 protection, but that's because he's in human caster form. By the way, his Bless was just magic weapons, I guess, right? Because he only has the Astral. Um, okay.
Right, Astral 4.
Yeah. Oh, and then he actually scripts change form. So this is what
Uh,
he
yeah.
actually looks like, and he has quickness. Right, he did quicken self, I think.
Hmm.
So this chassis now has a fear aura, which is nice. Um, so it has 17 protection, 87 hit points, 15 defense. Um, Interesting that it loses its water when it shapeshifts.
Right, because it has the -2 path loss.
Yeah,
So that's why he has to have it in that bureaucrat form when it's expanding,
right. To
because he has
cast it
to
first, yeah.
the ice shield. Yeah.
So
Um,
looks
it,
like the fear did most of the work there.
mhm. It's also
Unfortunately,
worth saying, I think, that these are very easy provinces.
yeah,
It's true for underwater provinces in LA in general, just because you have lower incidences of shark tribe and amber tribe. So you'll see more of these things, like just the regular tritons and mermen.
now this is very unfortunate because he gets bleeding, and now he's developed
He's
a limp.
fine. He's fine.
I mean, he's not
I mean,
gonna.
the limp's not great,
Yeah,
but
he's not gonna die from it, but getting that affliction is unfortunate.
yeah, and those Shamblers are going to have higher morale, so that's going to be a more
Mm-hmm.
slightly more challenging province. But they still shouldn't hit through that protection and ice shield because they have just regular claws, no
Yeah.
weapon at all. I think that if he gets body ethereal, that's going to make this even more reliable. But he should be fine.
Okay. Since it's right in the neighborhood and we have a message from Midgard, let's take a look at that. We continue to build a fort and prepare for war. Okay, not super um, revelatory.
Yeah,
A
so
fort is
forts are
being
going
built
up in
here.
16 and 60. Yeah.
Okay, and this was a ping by Calum Scout. And Bandar Log Yeah, he's got his fort here. Is this... No, this is just this army that moved out here. Okay. All right. Next, we should do the Bogarus Atlantis TNC thing.
So
here Bogarus is telling us about... Right, this is what happened last turn. So he's now reacting to the attack where Atlantis took the army in his cap and moved on to the cap circle where he had PD dumped.
Yeah, so the PD insta route is because that's a militia province. Militia have very poor morale, so naturally they'll instantly route. And then the rest of it was short bows. So like they're sitting back there with the rest of your guys. And then of course, no protection, not really any attacks. Once things get into melee with short bows, they're not going to last very long.
So Bogarus is trying to guess what is going to happen with the god. But I think his basic... he's basically right that his army is not... can't really be attacked into with like a small army from Atlantis.
Right.
Yeah,
now
so he is deciding to do some small raids, but he's afraid that Atlantis is just going to be able to dump gold into a PD dump. But he might not realize the extent to which Atlantis has been recruiting high gold troops, and he's also building a fort elsewhere. Why don't we take a look at the Bogarus attacks here?
Yeah, so, I mean, these are just raids against province defense. And then he did a scouting attack into the province where he was just defeated last turn, because that's where he expects to see... he says a PD dump, but a PD dump shouldn't. Actually, PD dump would matter against Bogarus' army in particular, because they can soak smites. Like, if his army is set a little further back, and then the militia are set... or, he lets the militia run forward, then they might take the initial smites just because... the smite casters might prioritize the closer things as like being potentially more threatening. But given that smite should never miss and his smite has a very long range, I think they'll generally go for the mournfuls anyways. As far as actual combat potency, militias and archers we know aren't going to do much against heavy cav, just as they didn't do much against the ice guards. Like the best that they'll be doing is breaking lances.
So the real fight this turn is actually on the TNC front. Atlantis has reinforced this province with as much as he could. This is the army probably that was garrisoning that fort under construction. We have the god here. And
this is much hardier PD. This is heavy cav.
Looks like light cav, actually. It's a light cav. Oh, well, there's some heavy cav, yeah.
Yeah, not much. I mean, heavy cav, you don't get that many, but... you do get some, and these guys actually are fairly durable with 18 protection.
And this guy is in his own dominions. He's got Never Healing Wound, but that's okay. He still has 179 hit points. And on the Tianchi side, we have a pile of Ancestral Cavalry and the Prophet.
Yeah, and because these Ancestor Cav... not all of them got... Oh, no, they did get blessed. Never mind. Yeah, so these guys have a strength bless, so they're actually fairly damaging against even the 21 protection worm.
Yeah, so to remind ourselves, he has strength +4, HP +2, poison resistance, and magic weapons.
And this still actually almost went well for him. I think just because the heavy cav didn't surround and kill this god, that they mostly just, ran in and did a lot of damage against the province defense. So his troops are running away. So the worm, it might not be enough of an HP anchor. Oh, there we go, yeah. Once the Ancestor Vessels that had been shooting run in, that worm is taking some pretty significant damage.
Yeah.
Like, that was a 20 damage hit after prot that just went on it.
So I'm a bit behind in the...
Oh, sorry, I've been watching it at a faster speed.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the tricky things with archer cavalry or just units that have both range weapon that you want them to use and also melee weapon that you want them to use is how to handle this kind of situation where you had half of your army fighting in melee and the other half shooting. Now, if we watch it again, units like the barbarian heavy cav, this composite bow is not bad at shooting at archery, right? At shooting at archers and light infantry and things like that. But the unit is generally more valuable as like an attack rear type of unit. Now,
I believe that he actually has everything set to hold an attack, and that what happened was after they did their initial attack, so they charge in, they kill or rout this like squad of infantry, then they went off script, and archer units off script are going to default using their bows instead of their lances.
but see, these
So
guys charged into the middle.
I think it's a matter of targeting. So I think that those are different squads. So their attack order, as they interpreted it, was to target this squad here with these archers. So they are still on that attack order because their squad isn't dead yet. Whereas the ones that had prioritized probably some of the like either the heavy cav or some other squad that's already gone, those guys there. As far as they're concerned, their script is finished, so now they're defaulting to default behavior, which is fire. So that's sort of why you're seeing that. I think that they actually all did have the hold and attack script.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, in fact, he had two, and not only that, he actually had one non-sacred barbarian heavy cav in the south on an attack rear, and he also had a small squad of ancestor cav on an attack rear in the north. And
I don't know if those were attack rear though. They were. I mean, they were certainly some sort of attack order, but
they went pretty straight.
yeah.
Let's take a look again. But they kind of, look, they're set up in like a little box here. I'm sure that was an attack rear. Now, these guys ran into the heavy cav. And to Atlantis's credit, I'm sure this was attack rear. To Atlantis's credit, he actually scripted perfectly to block this, where he just has 10 guys on the top and 10 guys in the bottom to just meet that charge. Because the most frustrating way to lose a battle, regardless of the fact that he actually just clearly loses this because this is 50 ancestor cav, it feels really bad when you lose it because, on turn 5, a bunch of heavy cav come to the back and kill all your commanders. Now, of course, he has the worm, so it's not going to instantly rout his whole army. But this is good placement here.
It would cost him mages quickly, and then stop
sure.
that Skella spam. Yeah, I think that his only hope here was hoping that I guess stuff routes really quickly from the Worm Sphere aura, and that the Skella spam has time. This is really low level Skella spam, so it's not even a stream of 5 per cast. But I think that his hope is basically just that that's going to make the difference between the troop quality, or make up for the difference between the troop quality.
I'm thinking here, if I was Tianqi, I think as Tianqi, it's always worth it to have a squad of 8 cavalry on north and south on hold and attack rear, because you never know, right? If it works, it's fantastic. But I would have had everybody else on fire. Just fire. Because that... And the reason is that, first of all, Ancestor Cav, you actually want them to shoot their fear bows, right? That's just good. But then, because they're all archers, they're just going to, after 12 rounds, nobody has arrows anymore, and then they're just all going to attack at the same time. And you're not going to end up with this situation here, where, almost half of the army... So, here, I'll go back to the beginning, just so we see the script here. I think that I would reduce the size of this attack rear squad. Go big or go home, right? One way to do this fight is you literally split all of your cavalry into 2 groups, and they both attack rear, right? That's a thing you can do. But I think here you just have 8 guys on each side, and everybody else is in the middle in a double line formation or something, and they're just on fire.
Especially
fire archers.
Dump. Yeah,
I do fire archers, right? Because you know that this is this PD type. You just let them fire archers when whatever PD or infantry charges up to you. You're like, okay, you want to fight Sacred Heavy Cav, yeah, I'll melee you, right? And that way you're always fighting as a cohesive unit. You run out of arrows, and then and actually, what would be even better? Instead of fire archers, maybe you have like one squad on fire archers. You put the infantry archers in front to screen, and then you have everybody else on fire closest. Because if you don't do that, if you have these heavy cav in front, the heavy cav that are going to meet these guys are not going to shoot their bows. They're going to use their melee. And then once these guys are done fighting, the guys on the side that were on fire, they run out of arrows. So they're going to go attack. But half of your army that was fighting these in melee, once they've killed this squad, they're going to switch to their bows.
Right, because they'll still have shots left.
Exactly. And you want to like empty these shots. In fact, honestly, you can even there's a special command that nobody uses, but there's a command called like fire and keep distance. And it's actually, this nation is one of the only nations where it's actually worth doing. You can literally kite heavy infantry around, especially if you're like heavy cavalry like this. So the units will move away from their target and keep shooting their bows.
Yeah, I mostly use that command just for lores rather than for actually trying to do what the command says on the tin.
Yeah, but I would sacrifice maybe the infantry, and just try to dump all of your arrows, and then they'll just fight together. But anyways, at the end of the day, he does lose 28 out of the 45 ancestor vessels, and
that's certainly a setback.
all 16 of the heavy cav.
Yeah, it was a much closer fight than I was expecting it to be. I thought TNG would just roll them there. But I think part of that is just I expected the worm to get into melee with like a bunch of ancestor vessels all at once, and for that to be one of the first things to rout. Whereas what actually happened is that the PD absorbed pretty much all of the damage, with like just those side squads then getting hit. So the Wyrm itself was in contact with mostly the barbarian heavy horsemen at the south, and then eventually the ancestor vessels later. But by that point, he'd lost enough HP total on the field that once the Wyrm got whittled down, it ran.
Yeah, so yeah, it's tricky to play with these sacreds. They're very strong, and these unit types are very strong, but you gotta like learn to coax them to do what you want them to do. Now, there aren't a lot of losses in units, but this is a huge gold investment. This is a big PD dump. It's 30. So
yeah, it's 450 gold.
Yeah.
So that's and
like,
then of course he lost 14 Mournfuls, which is like another what is that?
25, I
another
guess. So
350, I want to say. Yeah, 350. So actually, it's kind of funny. Like Mournfuls are so expensive that just losing 14 of them is the same as all 30 of that PD.
Yeah. Okay.
Or almost.
Yeah.
100 gold less. But yeah.
So, looking at the map then, Tianchi now is in Atlantis' cap circle. Atlantis has not moved this army back, but he just kind of kept it there. And Bogarus raided these two provinces.
Yeah, Atlantis dumped mercenaries. So that's probably why he kept his army there, is to make sure that he has that mercenary support.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to try to kick Bogarus off that fort and then lose. That's
But I don't think the mercenaries are like. I don't think if you take, I don't know. This seems unrealistic. Now, if you have the worm with you, maybe you think you can do it.
Yeah, or even just all the ice guards. I mean, obviously he built them this turn, so he didn't have the opportunity for that. But yeah, those ice guards are basically his best tool that he's got left.
Okay. So those are all the major moves, really. There's still a couple more like indie fights. So let's go and take a look. I think I'm gonna start using the message menu to float around and see if there are interesting fights. This is just an expansion with Fediheim. 13 Mouflon Cataphracts, no trouble taking out these weak indies.
I mean, you say that, but he had trouble.
I mean,
not in this one, but in general.
Yeah, yes, I mean, in this particular fight, no trouble. Vediheim here takes on a heavy Cav province, losing 3 Wolf Brothers. We've seen this. And Alm takes on the heavy cavalry with rangers and a couple Zweihanders. Again, sort of an anti-synergy here, but that's what he's got, so that's what he's going to use.
What's interesting there is that the melee units, the 20 melee units, killed more of the infantry than the 47 ranged units.
Well,
Or
yeah, because these are... Actually, they're not all Zweihanders, but these guys do have Morning Stars. Pretty killy. I mean,
yeah, I just think it's very telling
yeah.
that how ineffective these rangers are in practice.
I mean, to be fair, like, they're getting the killing blows. They're kind of like kill-stealing the Rangers, right?
To an extent, yeah.
um,
But the
and
rangers also cause a little bit of friendly fire.
yeah, but they also routed the light cavalry. That was all the Rangers. Okay, Arco attacks the throne here. So let's take a look at. Well, first of all, let's take a look at what this throne was. Oh, this is a Skelly spam throne with a bunch of guys with death gems and blood slaves, but very little in terms of an actual army. And Arco has attacked with a bunch of indie crossbows. And he's got a couple squads of Heart Companions here, very densely packed with their little buff buddies. And an
I want
elephant.
to also point out that the crossbows are forward deployed, and
Mm-hmm.
the reason that you do that is that unscripted things are going to be shooting for max damage. So these things are intended to snipe the mages.
Mm-hmm. And they're missing because it's far, but they're in range, which is
Yeah.
deliberate.
They might also be aiming for the blood slaves, actually, because those things are also zero protection.
Yep. And legitimate targets too. So let's take a look, by the way, at these Heart Companions. So they've got protection and luck. So they got 24 protection at 12 attack length for spear.
And that's going to jump up a little bit if they get berserked.
That's true, because they have Berserker too. Now, that's good for repel. Unfortunately, this is going to be a bunch of skeletons who give zero shits about repel.
Well, they'll take the 1 extra damage.
Yeah. Now the archers get routed, which is as expected. And
then his
now
own little skill spam.
he has
comes
his
out to
own little
protect the
skill spam
mages.
happening, which is nice because that prevents, right? That protects the mages from these guys sort of killing them. Did the elephant get any buffs? Sadly, not.
Yeah, I think the Heart Companions actually have a higher HP density for protection. Because there's 5 of them.
Exactly. Yeah. And then finally they get to the back line and just start trading things up. So good on Arco. And then very high in the same turn pings this throne, but then just realizes it's Arco.
Well, he saw the exact composition, so that's
Yeah.
something, I suppose.
Yeah, so now he knows. Okay, and that's all the messages, which means we've looked at all the combats. The throne that Arco took is this one down here, the Crystal Throne, which is a very useful mage to have around, and it gives you nice gems. So all around, good on him.
It's interesting that he moved that whole army with mage support into that cave, and then didn't then try for the throne or anything else.
This one here. Yeah. I wonder if this might be an elemental, like this might be big fire elementals or something like that.
Yeah, that might be why he's holding off. It's just interesting that he took that whole big army there instead of just clearing it with just a solo scout or a mage or something. Maybe he did just forget that he had killed all the commanders.
Yeah, could be. Could be. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Since, honestly, I think, except for these 2 underwater provinces and this little lake here, are there any more indie provinces left to take that aren't these lakes? There's one here still kind of near Heavy Cav near Phalegra. There's one randomly here in Atlantis' land surrounding the lake. Thrones, obviously. One province here. This is interesting. This province here between Midgard and Bogarus.
I believe that one's been negotiated to Midgard.
We assumed that because we just heard that they had negotiated borders, and I assumed when Bogarus was taking these two that surely that must mean Midgard has the other one, right? Because
Right.
what I'm thinking is maybe if it could be that this is owed to Bogarus, but he's been too busy with the war to take it. But that would imply that they
No, yeah, because
negotiated and he got all three. That seems like not fair, right?
yeah, that would be baffling, especially given that Midgard isn't traditionally regarded as a weak nation early.
Yeah,
Like his expansion's been atrocious for what you would expect of Midgard. Um,
but Bogarus we know is preparing to elf Patala, but it's still
yeah,
surprising to me that he hasn't like gone to clear this. So I don't. Maybe there's something we don't know happening about this surrounding this province. Um,
and we also can imagine that Bogarus didn't negotiate for it because he did actually have an army bordering it for a little while, just in the province to its south, when he was preparing to invade
yeah,
Atlantis.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he
He
had
had the
enough time to take
opportunity.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. Okay, one more indie province here. I wonder if this was ever negotiated between Raga and Patala. But Patala has had the opportunity to move armies to go in to be in a position to take this, but he hasn't yet. So that's curious.
Honestly, the most surprising thing to me about Patala is that they didn't go in and jump Joman, because
Hmm.
I think that's what I would have done.
Well, I mean, this army finish is the one that cleared this undead province. They certainly are in a position now where they could start to vulture.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying, like they could have been in a position like last three
Hmm.
turns.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's telling me that they're not going to do it, um, because they also haven't gone for that water, which Joman is taking.
Yeah.
Could have been theirs.
Could have been. All right. So I guess that wraps up this turn 13. Um, there really isn't any expansion left to do here, except a few cases where we have underwater provinces mostly.
Well,
So
you can count Flagra as expansion
yeah,
for
that's right.
Ulm and Vadheim.
Yeah. Well, actually, which is kind of what I'm expecting to see in the next few turns because we have, out of the 12 nations in the game, we have three that are at war in this war here, and then two that are at war here, Raga and Joman. And so, what
But we also
are.
know that Patala and Midgard both expect to fight
That's
each other.
true. So there's an upcoming war here. So that's 7 players. So there are 5 players who have like no more expansion to do. So either you take thrones or you start fighting. So Arco's taking thrones. So what is Calum doing? What is Vedheim doing? What is Falegra doing? And who are we missing? Who's the other one?
Well, Flagra essentially has no agency,
Yeah,
so
fair.
I
Yeah,
don't.
fair enough. Right, but so what's Vidheim planning? Arco's doing thrones. Um,
Ulm looks like he's going for
and
that throne on
Calum
the
and
border with
Ulm.
Arco and Vadheim.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe he reinforces one more turn and goes here. So it looks like people are doing. Well, at least it looks like Ulm and Arco are thinking thrones. And Vedheim, we can't really tell yet. I think he actually still had expansion to do, so his armies are a little scattered. So we'll see what
And he's
happens
also at
there.
least pinging thrones, so he
Mm-hmm.
might be going for some as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, he's probably scouting those. Okay, well, we will see what these players decide to do next turn in the next episode. Thanks for joining me, Sy.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and we'll catch you guys next turn. Take care.